Hey, what's going on, everyone? Mike Croft here, Money Coach Mike. Super excited about this episode. We're going to dive in how you can make 15% while the markets are still down. Plus, I'm going to give you an update on my life, what's been going on. Let's dive in. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mike Croft here, Money Coach Mike. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Man, it has been a minute. For those of you that have been tracking, following my journey here with Colby, hey, he's doing good. He's doing good. For those of you that haven't been following, basically, long story short, Colby had liver disease. He's like 2 years old. Had liver disease, needed surgery. We weren't sure if he was going to make it. Doctors weren't sure if he was going to make it. And basically, I spent the majority of 2025. We're now 2026, but majority of 2025. Just like in the fetal position, more emotionally, not literally in the fetal position. We got 4 kids, so we had to take care of the rest of the kids while Colby was going through his liver transplant. My wife and Colby were in the hospital for well over 6 months last year. Weren't home at all, but man, what a season! God is good. Colby's life was saved. He did get a liver transplant. It took. He's doing great. There's still some challenges, but these challenges are a lot easier to handle and go through. This valley is easier to go through than the last valley of not knowing if he was going to make it or not. But he made it. He's home. Now we got to get him to gain. We got to get him to beef up, which for a crafty kid isn't hard to do usually. We can tend to beef up pretty easily, but Colby obviously just needs to work there. But he's doing good. He's doing really good. So really happy just to be back in the swing of things and getting everything rolling again. But in the background, so I haven't been talking much about this. I kind of started talking about it last year, and obviously with everything going on here, just couldn't keep up the commitment of hopping on the podcast and sharing results and sharing strategies and all that with you guys here. But hopefully the goal is to be able to do that more now that we're, looks to me like we're back in routine. All right. So, praying that we stay in routine here so that we can be more present with you guys, everyone listening on the podcast world, everyone watching on the YouTube side of things here, and be able to share the journey with you. But today, I want to bring you through here what to do in a sideways market and how, I'm going to show you some things here, but the market's been sideways pretty much since October. So we're almost, we're halfway through March right now. We're almost 6 months of just sideways chop. You've made nothing in the last 6 months in the market. However, if you've been implementing the passive income strategy, you're up 15 to 30%, if not more. You might even be up more than that. But we essentially aim to make roughly about 1% a week. Now, some weeks we could do that and above. Some weeks we go a little bit below that. But if we can average about 1% a week here, since October, I think about October, November, December, January, February, almost not fully. We're 5.5 months. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, roughly about 22%. Well, the market's been going sideways. In fact, this year, the market's down so far, negative 6.5%. For those of you that are watching, some of you might not even be paying attention to that. But your portfolio, if you're investing long-term, whether it's a Roth, traditional, for the Canadians out there, RSP, or even TFSAs, if you're kind of just doing that buy, hold, traditional, buy, the S&P 500 or the Qs or whatever, you're probably down to 0% return so far this year. And that's traditional buy and hold investing. Now, over decades, yeah, you'll be up, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And the right stuff, you'll be up here. But in my opinion, you want a solution for when the markets go sideways, because they can go sideways for quite a while. They can also go down. You want a solution for when they can go down, right? And if your only solution is to make money when the markets are up, I question whether you're fully dialed in on that side of things. All right, so what I want to walk you through today is how the Passive Income Accelerator students, myself, and the clients that I manage here, how we're still making money here, even though the market's been sideways / down a little bit, and we're still making money. We're up 15% this year alone since January. We're up 15, honestly, if I'm doing the math correctly, 15 to 36%, depending on the account. But most accounts are up about 15% right now. Markets are down negative 6.4. Hey, that's not bad to be up 15 while the markets are down negative 15.4. I mean, how many of us, raise your hands, don't raise your hands if you're driving, but, raise your hand if you would like to be up 15% when the market's down 6.4%. Yeah, it's not bad here. In fact, here, let me show you guys this for everyone that's watching. For those that are listening here, I'll just explain what I'm showing you guys. This is TradingView. This helps me track different stocks, ETFs. This helps me take a look at what the market is doing overall here. And right in front of me here on this screen, you can see I got the S&P 500. For those of you that don't know what that is, the S&P 500 is really just a benchmark that I use to kind of get the idea of how the market's doing. Okay? For me, it's a benchmark of how the market's doing. Are we up? Are we down? How much are we up? How much are we down? All that stuff. That's what I use it for. And here it is. Basically, since September, right there we are right there. End of September, early October, which is right about there. Okay. As of this week, we are only up from September. End of September here, we are up currently 1.17% in the last 6 months. Now, if you judge this from the beginning of the year, January 1st, or that first week in January, right about there, we're currently down. Now it's about 2.5%. Earlier this week, we were down about 6-ish percent, depending on exactly where we took that from, and that should be right about there. Yeah, about 4.5% or so. So, yeah, market's down this year. Market's up 1% over the last 5.5 months. Passive income, people doing the passive income are up 15%. Some are up even more than that. And this is why I love the passive income strategy. Not only is it a way to beat the market long term and short term, as you've seen here, short term we're kicking its butt, but it's a way to be able to make money weekly. Right. What's cool about the passive income strategy is it allows me to create a passive income. That's why we call it the passive income strategy. It allows me to create a passive income weekly. Okay. So every week I'm able to pull money out if I want, or I can keep it in there and compound that. But it allows me to pull money out every single week, regardless if the market's up, down, sideways, all around. Okay. And the strategy is super simple. It's like, obviously there's a learning curve to it, right? Like with anything, right? You're driving a car today. Well, there was you had to learn how to drive the car, right? There was a learning curve around how to drive a car. When you were 2 years old, there was probably a learning curve around how to tie your shoes. Today, you can tie your shoes without even thinking about it. In fact, today you can tie your shoes while having other conversations or doing other things. That's what we call multitasking, right? And what I found is when you get to mastery, that's when you can multitask, and that's when you can do things without having to waste a bunch of brain energy to try and figure out how to do it. Right? Same with driving. For those of us that started driving when we were 13, 14, 15, depending on where you live, 16 in some areas as well, right? Like it was a lot of brain power. Okay, put the seatbelt on, turn the, the key ignition on, put the car, make sure no one's coming, hit the brake, put the car into drive. Okay, let go of the brake, slowly hit the gas pedal, keep, look right, center, left, right. Like when you first learned to drive, there was a lot of brain power going into teaching you the foundations and how to basically make driving automatic, right? Nowadays, if you've been driving for years, it's probably all automatic. You probably don't even think to turn on the ignition, put it into drive or whatever. It's automatic. It's just it's a bunch of I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Bunch of systems you've learned over time where you don't have to use a bunch of brain power now to drive. Now, obviously, you're still looking around, but again, it's automatic. And that's what this can be when it comes to the passive income here. There's a learning curve. It's going to take a bit of time to learn the strategy, a bit of time to get comfortable implementing the strategy. But once you get over that, you've got over the learning curve. Now it's time to grow the strategy, right? And so what we do here is basically we go into the market. This is how we get paid. We don't own any stock. We don't own any investments, mutual funds, bonds. We don't own anything. Our money sits in the account, at least for one part of the strategy. There's multiple ways we can implement the strategy. But for this part of the strategy, where we've been making 1% a week since, we make 1% a week, period, but we've been making 1% a week since October, where the markets have been up 1% total, right? So they've been up 1% total. We've been making 1% a week since October. What we do is we agree to buy stock at a lower price than what it's currently trading at. Okay. People on the other side of the trade, so banks, institutions, sometimes there's retail traders there as well, are agreeing to pay us. They call it a premium. They pay us a premium to enter into that agreement. Now, my agreements last a week. I go a week at a time, so I enter into the agreement on Monday. By Friday, the agreement's over or the contract's over. I've made my money. My money still stays in cash. It actually doesn't get put into anything. And then I reset and do it again. And this whole process, the whole time, your money stays in cash, so it's not in anything. You don't have to buy anything. But what you're basically saying is, hey, if the stock goes to this price, I'm willing to buy it. And so in this example, we're looking at like the S&P 500 right now, so I'll just use that as an example. The S&P 500 moves roughly about $18 a week right now, okay? And so all I do is I go on Monday morning, I say, okay, what's $18 below the current price it's trading at? That's usually a good spot to be in. In this example, $18 below from Monday would have been roughly 76, about 68. So, in this example, 668 would have been kind of that right in that zone. Right? And so what I do is I just go and say, hey, if the stock goes below $668, I'm willing to buy X amount of shares. People pay me a premium for that. Again, my money stays in cash. I collect the premium. Boom! That's how I make an income every week. That's how I've been making money every single week as the stock market's kind of just gone sideways. And the great part is you can do this when the stock market's moving up. You can move this when the stock market is moving down. You can do this when the stock market is moving sideways. Okay? And that's it. The concept is that simple, not super complicated. Now the nuance will be you actually doing it, getting used to it, and that's the nuance, and that takes some time. As with anything you try that's new just takes time to learn, to master, to get comfortable with. But once you get comfortable with it, man, this becomes super, super, super powerful. I've been doing this for years. Okay, but when Colby and Steph went into the hospital full time, which would have been roughly about June of last year. Now they were in the hospital for weeks at a time before that, but they went in full time in June. I reverted to this to supplement my income, simply because I wasn't in the headspace to grow business. I wasn't in the headspace to coach in a business. Anyone that's gone through a traumatic event like that, where a kid might pass away. Obviously, you're just on the same headspace, and that's where I was. And so I turned to something like this. It did two things for me. One, it supplemented my income. Okay, so every week we knew we had the bills covered, food was covered, that type of stuff, mortgage was covered, all that. Two, it gave me freedom. And here's why. Once you learn to master this strategy, it takes 15 minutes a week. In fact, if you're working with me, it takes you less than 15 minutes a week because I do all the research. And I just give it to my clients and my students to implement. So it'll take you like a couple of minutes a week once you master the strategy. But yeah, 15 minutes a week. All right. And think about this. If you're making 1% of your account size, which is your savings, think about this. $100,000 account is making about $1,000 a week. Okay, that's $4,000 a month. $50,000 accounts making roughly about $500 a week, at $30,000, $300. You can do the math. You get it. 10,000, about 100. Which is great. So it takes 15 minutes a week, meaning it frees up my time. I don't have to sit there and manage this. I'm not day trading this, right? I'm not hoping that the markets go up or I'm not hoping the markets move in a certain direction to make money, right? I'm like, I've made the money. And I collect it and I move on. That's it. 15 minutes once a week. Maybe I check on it midweek. Maybe I can put on another strategy to make a little bit more money. I do that sometimes as well. but it gave me time freedom. And anyone here that's ever been through, you have a sick kid or, a kid that's, in the hospital, you need time freedom. Or if you're caring for someone or whatever, there's many situations where you want, you need time freedom. That's what this does. It buys you time, which ultimately, or arguably, in my opinion, time is the most valuable asset we have, right? And I'll give you an example of that. Warren Buffett, he is a multi-billionaire, right? Multi-billionaire. He's also like 94, 95 or something like that. I'm not sure the exact age, but he's definitely in his 90s. For those of you that are young, maybe you're in your 30s, your 40s, even your 50s, even your 60s, would you trade spaces with Warren Buffett? Why not? Yeah, you're probably thinking, well, the guy might be a billionaire, but the guy's got like maybe 5, maybe 10 years left. If he's super lucky, maybe a little bit longer. But he's got like a decade or less left. You just proved to me why time is more valuable than money. In fact, I submit to you, Warren Buffett would trade places with you today. He would give up all that $1 billion to get an extra 20, 30, 40 years of life back. And that just proves the concept that time is way more valuable than money. Right? And that's what I love about this strategy is it frees up my time. I've got a student right now, Jeff, who is a teacher. He makes more money doing this than he does teaching. Right? Like we're now having discussions. He's nowhere near retirement age. He has not put in enough years for retirement, period. But he makes more money doing this than he does actually teaching. When you take away taxes and all that fun stuff, there's more money at this than there is in the teaching career. So for some of you, I submit you have enough equity that you could retire from your jobs if you chose to, or you can go part-time, or you can supplement your income. And you don't have to do the 9-to-5 grind. Some of you have enough equity laying around. Maybe it's in the equity in your house. Maybe it's equity in your investments. Maybe you got some savings sitting aside. Some of you have enough equity right now that you could replace your entire yearly salary. What would you do, or what would you do different if maybe you didn't have to show up at work every day? Whose life, like what impact could you have? Whose life could you change? What would you do differently if money was taken care of? Would you still show up at your 9 to 5? If you say yes to that, great. You have found something that 90% of people have not found. A job they love, right? But what if money wasn't the problem anymore? What if the money side was covered? Would you do things differently? How would you show up? How would your life be different? Right, and that's what we're talking about here. Over time, this has the goods to have huge impact on your life, as it has done with mine. So, all that to say, market's going sideways, market's going down. I actually don't care. Because I make money. Up, down, all around, we make money using the passive income strategy. Okay? If this intrigues you, head over to moneycoachmike.com/passive income. Okay? I've got a master class that I put together here where I'm teaching the strategy a little bit more in depth, how it works, and putting the pieces together for you guys so you can see for yourself how it can work. You can do some math, figure out your numbers, and see how it'll work for you. And then from there, if you want us to help, you can always hop on a call. And if you don't, that's fine as well. Keep listening, keep watching, keep learning, right? And hopefully you're implementing and making money at this as well. All right, guys. But great to be back. Great to be able to hang out with you guys again and share what's been going on. It's been an amazing journey, amazing last couple of months. Teaching this stuff privately, helping clients grow with this stuff as well here. And we can't wait to help change your life with the passive income strategy as well. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.